down, but they're looking for the killer blow. That's it, back of the end zone. Dagger! He's looking. Jamil's coming. He's moving. He's got him. He's got him. It was caught, but Jed has called the sack. Incomplete. He called the sack. It's 2 points to the Hammerhead. An unbelievable sack there by Jamil. This is the last game of the day. It's caught and it's in. It's a touchdown.
That's it.
It's a touchdown. The last play of the game. The clock is at zeros. That's it. Your Swansea Hammerheads are advancing to the Division 1 final, having knocked off the 2 seed and having knocked off the 1 seed. Alan Young, you look absolutely stunned.
What do you mean by live? Genuine live?
Yes.
We're broadcasting.
Hello, radio!
And now, a new episode of The Way We HNC It. Yes, hello, welcome back to another episode of The Way We HNC It. And Tree and I have just gone through an experience that we've actually never gone through as we introduce ourselves to some brand new recording software. So we're going maybe this episode never makes the light of day, but we hope it will. And I am glad to be joined by my partner in crime. How are you, Mr. Anderson?
Oh, very well, thank you. That was an experience. This is very professional now, Bez.
It was.
That was exquisite. We get to just sit there and listen to our own intro as we're sitting here. Like no post editing, just done in real time. This is
pretty much the first time I've ever listened to the intro since I cut it together, I think. When I listened to it about 400 times to make sure everything lined up. But
right, yeah. I'm going to have to listen to it every week now. So
every week now. That's it.
Yeah.
So yes, thank you everyone. Welcome to another episode round the cozy storytelling campfire that is The Way We HNC It. There's been a lot on. A lot
to talk about as well.
And there's just a lot to go through, basically. We've got Claddable, and shout out to every single person from Ireland that got in touch after the last time we said it live on air, allowing us to say Cladda with confidence. Claddable, the first ever women's league game day, took place in Dublin over the weekend just there. And by all accounts, it was a fantastic day. And next week we are going to be able to bring you some a very exciting interview that has been building for a while to cover a lot more around Irish flag football. So yeah, get excited about that and get ready to hear a different accent for once. But yeah, it was even live streamed off of the Veo, which was pretty sick. So yeah, good returns there for everyone involved, as the South Dublin Panthers, the Phoenix, the Belfast Trojans, and the Dublin Rebels became the first 4 teams ever to complete in a women's flag football league event in Ireland, which is very cool.
Very, very cool.
So I had a chat with Joe, who anyone who's played the South Dublin Panthers at Winter League will probably know, plays quarterback and is the coach of the women's league. He sent me a Google Doc that has all of the South Dublin Panthers stats on it, which is unbelievable.
Doing it right, yes.
Yeah, for sure. So there's going to be 2 more kind of regular season game days. If more teams pop up, they will be able to enter. The finals day will be seeded based on the rankings of the 3 game weeks. However, yeah, if any teams are just going to enter on the final game day, then they'll also be allowed in. So yeah, it's a growing league with lots more people getting involved. There's the Quetzals, who, if you may remember, Tree, we thought were from Mexico.
Yep.
At We Run the World. They are from Dublin, but going by their social media, do have a heavy Mexican influence, but they were not a traveling team on that particular day.
Right,
They
okay.
are actually
Right,
from
okay.
Dublin.
They're from Dublin, just with a Mexican invasion,
Yes,
basically.
just with a Mexican
Okay,
contingent.
Okay. Right, cool.
So solved that mystery. So yeah, please do join us next week for we'll tease it. Next week, starting on Monday and going the whole way through the whole week. It's going to be an absolute riot of news and interviews and podcasts. So be ready, basically, is what I'm saying. Be ready. It's going to be an awful lot of fun next week. So yeah, don't know when we're going to post this show either, if it ever gets released, because who knows. But be very excited. Will we do the BAFA tender, Tree? Will we talk about the BAFA tender?
Yeah, sure. Let's go right into the deep end with our wooden spoons and tinfoil hats.
I mean, to be fair, as official, BAFA
Yep.
BAFA Affairs, the BAFA Affairs spokesperson for the podcast.
I mean,
what are you thinking? What are you thinking, Tree?
See, this is my naivety to not really paying attention to the whole season, Bez, that I just don't care.
Yes.
Everyone might think that I do. I thought this was a foregone conclusion, that this was all being handled by Catalyst and it's moved over and that's what's happening. Apparently freaking no. So
well,
I understand what they're going through, and I've been reading between the lines. I'm in a few group chats and inner circles of people that might be interested in the tender process, and we've heard that regionals might not be in the tender process anymore and things like that. I've heard rumors. I think that it's a worrying time, if I'm honest, depending on who gets it. Now, obviously, a tender process, they're going to have to go through it appropriately. The right person or peoples or organizations are going to have to be picked to be able to manage it and do it successfully. So a lot of my concerns will be null and void, because obviously whoever they pick should be the appropriate organization or group to run the league. So they'll have everyone's what's the word I'm looking here for, Bez? Everyone's best interests at heart, whether that's Scotland, England, Wales, male, female, mixed, whatever. But what if they do something mental, Bez? I'm
like
not
what
sure.
if it's a shit show?
Sorry?
Like what if it's a shit show?
Yeah.
That was early to use my swear. I do appreciate that. That was early in the show to use my
I never heard it.
But that's even better.
Your computer audio broke up just at that word, and I never heard you. So
well,
I think you might have got away with that one, Bez.
The people at home are going to have heard it twice. So
yeah, I'll press the beat button. But no, I just that's my only concern is when you take it away from a national governing body for someone else to run it. Have they got the experience? Do they have everyone's best interests in mind? Financially, is it viable? There's so much concern, like from a player's perspective. From an opportunities perspective, it makes me optimistic, because imagine the opportunity to try and get sponsorship, try and make it something bigger than what it is, add all the things we've been wanting for years to make it a better league. If they go down that direction where we listen to the players and the teams, and actually we have like a players committee almost, something like that, where we actually get feedback directly in that could be influential to make the league more fun, more open, more competitive. There's an opportunity for that element too. So I see it from both sides. I just having no foresight of what the plans are. I mean, it is concerning. Like it is like what's the future for flag football in the UK?
It's change, isn't it? Like it's
changed.
The league has essentially been run by a committee of volunteers associated to BAFA forever. Yeah. I think it's right that it's now reached the point that, like I've said before, I have gone on record on this show before and said national governing bodies and organizing bodies should not be the same. Like I think this is a good move for BAFA. I think this is a good move for flag football. We'll see we will see how it shakes out, I guess.
Hit
But
the nail on the head, Bez.
the tender document, for those that read tender documents.
We all know you, Bez. We know you've enjoyed every moment of those bullet points, hyphenated areas, and indentations. You've had a glorious time.
How long did it take in our group chat for me to send in like a section breakdown?
Not long. Like as soon as it was released.
It was like Greg sent it in,
so
and I think it was like 10 minutes later. I was like, guys, have you read section this, subsection that? And the guys are like, no, Bez, we haven't.
No, Bez. We've heard it's going out for tender because you said so, and that's it. Yeah. There are some interesting things to it. Obviously, not many people are going to give two tosses about it. They're not going to care. But there are some like things in it that you just go, oh, I didn't know you were still involved, or oh, you did it like this.
Oh,
I didn't
honestly,
know you would
the bit in the tender that was like the contract manager. The contract manager is Pete Ackerley, a man who resigned with immediate effect like 3 months ago. Like,
yeah,
that made me laugh. That really made me laugh.
That's incorrect, surely, right?
Well, I think it's correct and it's incorrect. I think it's correct in the sense that they said in his resignation he was resigning with immediate effect, but also not, because he was like ensuring a smooth transition to the next one. So as it stands
that's
right
a bit
now,
like Kyle, right, with a flag.
Yeah,
it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah. So Kyle's role will be abolished, once they find someone to restructure and slot in.
Yeah.
But and then we'll have to have a new commish and see.
So where does Catalyst fall into this then? Bez, do you know? Because I'm completely oblivious now.
Okay,
I thought I understood all this.
Right. So, in very, very simple terms.
Oh, I'll take that.
The BAFA committee used to run the league.
Yes.
Which, as part of BAFA. So you have a situation where governing body and organizing body are the same. In the strategic review, BAFA make the decision, we don't want to do that anymore. Heralded by many as a good thing. So I think the reason it's confusing is because Catalyst is the company owned and operated by Kyle Taylor, who is the BAFA flag lead. So I think that's where the confusion is. But in the actuality, Catalyst could have been owned by like Donald, who lives next door, right? It could have been anyone. Exactly. It could have been anyone, right? It could have been, I don't know, who's the famous owner of
Greg Sims secretly.
Right. Yeah. Freaking Greg could have owned Catalyst, right? And basically what BAFA did was when they said we're not going to organize the league anymore, we need to give that out. We need to give the rights to organize a league out. But it's like January and the league kicks off in 2 months. So we don't have time to do the tender. The tender process, all in all, from issue to award, I think the award is in June and it's April now, right? So call it 2 months. If they'd done this whole process in January, it would have been the middle of March, and by that point the league should have already kicked off. But if you're only awarding it there, then that means that either there is no league season, or it's COVID style, or it becomes a winter sport. All of which are undesirable for a number of reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
So what they did was they basically did a direct award. In corporate terms, they did a direct award for this year, for the 2024 season, for the rights to run the league without a tender process.
Temporary basis. Yeah. Just this is like a short-term agreement till we can get things on our feet. So then that then leads on to my further question: will they then go to tender for it?
So so you would imagine, right? That I'm just thinking. I don't want to bias anything because I don't know anything, right? But obviously, Kyle has been the head of the flag commission for the last number of years. Kyle has created a company where he's seeking to use that company as a vehicle to increase the provision of flag football in the north of England through schools, clubs, and all, and training videos, all that kind of stuff, right? That's where his professional life is going, right? Now, obviously, given the link he has with BAFA, the Catalyst was then awarded the direct award to run the league this year. That gives him, obviously, an advantage. It gives Catalyst an advantage should he want to tender for it. However, he does still have to tender for it, right?
So yeah. It's the same as like with work. What I would have to do, although I was in as a temporary solution as a contractor, if they then went out for me to build like a whole organizational thing, I'd still have to go to tender, even though my foot's in the door.
Exactly,
yeah, I get it.
And we all know that, like, just because you have a contract does not mean that you will get another one.
Oh, 100%.
Right.
You'd imagine like so who again are there going to be many people out there that would tender for it? That's kind of my interesting thing when I think about it is like if you think across the whole of the UK, if you're going to tender for this, it's going to be people that are within the existing flag community. You'd imagine like Kenny Bello and the UK Dukes. That would be an example. You know, that could be potentially because he's obviously probably more into the youth element of it. He'd probably go to tender for the youth program potentially if that was a thing. And you know, I don't know. It's just trying to think who else would be in a position.
I think it's something like that. It's something like that. It's either someone that we know who already has the experience. It's of running tournaments, league seasons. You know, they would still have to go through the process of like setting themselves up as a limited company and all that kind of stuff, which is like a big step for a lot of people, right? Because that stops just being about flag at that point. Like naming yourself as
a business,
naming yourself as the director of a company impacts, like if you have a job but you don't make any money off of this tender, then that impacts, there's real life consequences to doing that, right? There's real life impacts on beyond just like running the league.
That's why that narrows down. Like,
so it's to me, it's either that or it's like a massive company that runs local leagues all over the place. You know, it's like someone that runs. You know, it's like whichever is it like a company on the scale of someone that like runs the five-a-side FA Cup or whatever. You know what I mean? Like something.
Yeah, got you.
Something massive that just has fingers in multiple sports and just says we could blow that. We could blow any community offer out of the water. Take it on.
We've got the media coverage, the social media background. We've got everything there
pros
to
and cons,
take that
pros
and
and
make
cons
it something
to either.
better.
Pros and cons to either. Like one, it becomes incredibly corporate and everything changes, but then that gives you like the aspect of professionalism, or it stays kind of as it is with people that really know and care about the sport. So it depends, and at that point it gets into like, from a BAFA perspective, like what do you want? Like, because at the moment we're in a weird spot, and there's an interview coming next week that will talk about this a little bit more. Everything is sales, where like flag is in a weird spot, like where like so like when I was in Aberdeen, right, you could go to the ASV swimming pool, right, and there's an off chance, right, that Hannah Miley might be there, professional swimmer, medal winning swimmer, world champion swimmer for the UK, right? She's from Aberdeen and trains out of ASV, right? And that's cool because you can like see her, but in the same way that you would like see a professional football player like around. Whereas in flat, like, but I'm never going to swim against like an Olympic swimmer. Like me and Michael Phelps are not lining up in the same race, right? But there's a chance that anyone who lines up for Great Britain, should they qualify for the Olympics, like I will have played against. But that's now. Like there will become a time where that gap between like the bottom of Division 1 and the top of the Premiership is just going to like widen out, because you're going to have local community sports, you know, people that are playing for fun with their pals. And at the other end, you're going to have approaching, not professional players, because that like no one's like
semi-professional.
I don't mean like earning a salary when I say professional, but I mean people who train for flag in a professional manner, like people that are taking extreme account into their nutrition, their recovery, their strength and conditioning, their skills, coaches, like that will start to happen over the next couple of decades. I'm not saying that in 4 years' time you're going to have, like fully elite athletes playing.
I mean, all you've got to do is
but
look
like,
across to the NFL, like not the NFL, but like the AFL, where they have now the pro teams.
yeah,
Like you can imagine that if we were going down this route, imagine if NFL flag went in for the tender, and their take on it would be, okay, let's set up like the British Basketball League, BBL. So you'd have like the Gladiators in a pro as a pro team, which is like from the Midlands, like Scotland, Glasgow, Edinburgh. You go down, you have a pro team. You set up like 8 or 9 pro teams basically and have a league, but they're kind of governed by NFL franchises, for example, the teams that play in the UK, and that's their way of being able to potentially put funding in, that potentially have input from players and coaches and have availability and
I mean,
access to
there's this like
that
wild
stuff. That's
like, I think I spitballed this on a journey, one of the many journeys for flag football at some point, and I was like, there's an argument, right, that if participation in flag football, say only doubles, right? Say only doubles between now and 2026, right? So halfway through the cycle, right? By the end of the 2026 season, so better part of 3 seasons, participation in flag doubles, right? That puts you from around about 2,000 active adult players to 4,000 active adult players, right? Is there an argument at that point that the Premiership is basically the top 2 teams from the 4 divisions?
so that's how well, for me, that my direct comparison is basketball bets.
That's how it works
Because
there, right?
if you play in the Scottish Basketball League, just say you're the Falkirk Fury or the Edinburgh Kings, you're paying to play. Like you're not getting paid to play.
Yeah.
So you're playing for the Falkirk Fury, for example. They win the league. It's like Johnny Bunyan nobody will know who that I'm talking about, but played for Falkirk Fury for years. But played for the Glasgow Rocks, the Caledonia, all this whatever happened to the Gladiators and what they are today. But obviously, then paid to play. But that was the Scottish league. You played there. You played against all your teams and local players. Like what we do at Flag at the moment is you play with your mates, guys that are firemen and postmen and whatever, and that's just where you play to because you pay to play in the Scottish Basketball League, the English Basketball League, and Welsh Basketball League. But what you've got then above that is your Prem, your British Basketball League. You've got your stadiums, your elite athletes, and that's if basketball's not in got a GB basketball team, that's where Flag is so far behind in regards to infrastructure. To even that, like you could rock up to a stadium and watch a BBL team, and like there's TV
even if
coverage.
it was like, even if it's stuck at pay to play, right? Now I can't remember the standings off the top of my head from last year about how they all actually finished. So I apologize for anyone that I offend here. But if there was a league that was, because like remember, if you double the participation, you're probably going to add another half of the teams, right? Teams that exist are going to grow, and another 30 are going to pop up, perhaps, right, around the country. So that means that Div 1 in the current standard is now becomes unmanageable, right? Because it's just mental, right? You have to have
the model.
You have to have Div 2. You have to have Div 3. Whatever.
Well, I would say arguably you'd have to go what's the same as basketball, local league,
regional, local region,
national league, and then professional.
But what I mean is, like, can you imagine? Say maybe there's only 4 game days a year, right, rather than 6 or 7, right? But maybe in after the playoffs are all done and dusted, it's like the So who was it? It was the Smoke, Reading, the 2 Manchesters, Cardiff, North Ants, Glasgow, and Grangemouth. And they play 1 game day in Glasgow, they play 1 game day in Grangemouth, they play 1 game day in London, and they play 1 game day in Cardiff, for example. Cardiff, Wales, Cardiff, Manchester, Glasgow, London, and that's it.
That's your national league.
You play 3 games a day. You play everyone twice. Like,
That's your national league. And then
I think that's
to,
where something would end up like that.
Honestly, I would agree. I think you have
but at that
regional
point,
local league, which then if you then win, you go up to like your Prem Division 2. And then from that, then you go up to the Prem Level 1. But then it becomes difficult about relegation and promotion. And
it's for someone with a bigger brain than me to work out. But I think at some point, the Premiership will become actually national.
I think it will have to be.
Like north south is currently the most elegant solution to the problem of how do you get the best teams in.
Yeah, Div 1's becoming too big, and if you're expecting the growth that you're saying, there's going to be a Div 2, Div 3, or local leagues.
Yeah,
it's going to turn into that. Like imagine like a London league or a Midlands league.
And it might be different regions have to have more steps on the ladder. Like,
of course, yeah. Scotland might struggle, obviously because it's just the sheer, like, it'll be in Edinburgh, basically, and then Glasgow, like, it'll be more like a Scottish local league. You couldn't do, like, a Lothian league or a Grampian league. You're not going to be able to do that. But you can imagine for the potential growth through kids' programs and into the intake of more players, we're going to have, it's not going to be done by local regions, but more like districts, like the Welsh, the Scottish, the Midlands, the North, and London and the Southeast, for example. But that's where you just stay. You don't have cross conference. You play there, play between yourselves, and then you then go up to Division 1 or Division 2, then Division 1, and then the Prem. I don't know how would you do relegation promotion in the Prem. That's a really awkward one. Like, I don't know how you would do that, but imagine you end up with Oil Cats. Like, Oil Cats go up there and take the place of the Crows. Whoever finishes last and whoever wins Division 1 just goes up. It's a straight, like, normal, like, football sort of scenario.
Yeah. Like playoffs. Like, it would take a lot. It would take more time in a sketchbook than I thought when I.
So whoever's tendering.
But this is the thing, though. Like,
it's not just the now. It's
the tendering is like, like they're asked to bring the tender document asks for a plan. Like, it asks for a plan to grow the sport in line with BAFA's goals. So it would be cool to see them. It would be cool to see.
That's where I wonder whether they've got everyone's best interests in play. About, it should be selfish to say, well, in London there should be a London league. Yeah, there bloody well should be, because there's some people in there to give the sport of Britain the best opportunity of success. You're going to get a lot of very talented individuals in there. But are they then thinking about Scotland? Like, how could they improve the growth of the sport in Scotland and in Wales? That's not a volunteered role, Bez. That's then media coverage, local development officers, like that you're moving into a whole new territory of being able to do stuff like that. We're going to have to get like Sport Scotland, Sport England involved. You're going to have to. There's a whole another step to this to take. So I just hope that whoever does do it, they're ready for the task, because this isn't just like running Winter League. If the tender came up just to run the Scottish League, I'd be quite interested, because I think we know everyone. I think we could do the betterment of the sport. We could do our own Scottish Youth League, our own Scottish Women's League, our own Scottish like Mixed League or whatever. We could have better playoff scenarios, introduce more teams, tournaments. There's so much more we could do with the sport in Scotland. But I'd be interested in that. I don't know, I guess a few people like Scoff, Youngie, the guys for the youth. There's loads of stuff that's going on with that. But is something nationally best? That's not easy. No. Like, I that's a burden on anyone that wants to do a national league tender process. I don't know whether they really fully realise the full nature of what's going to be involved with that. But good luck to them, though.
Oh yeah, and whoever wins will slide into the DMs and see what we can get hold of.
I hope so. Yeah, it'd be great. That's what I'm saying. But that's the promise, though. Is like, it'd be great to see like what they bring to the table.
Yeah, if you have a plan for the future of flag football, we will give you a platform, and then we will.
I want a PowerPoint presentation, Bez.
We'll ask you very silly questions about it.
That's the joys of us having a podcast. We can just yap about it, and again, it's not just us. Like, I speak to people at the game days, and you'll be the same, Bez. You get ideas in your DMs and folks messaging like your club like WhatsApp groups or whatever. And Yeah, it gives us a lot of content of things that we can obviously talk about, but I think that is something of interest, this tender process, from us at least, because that is the future of something that we all hold dear, and it's just like, well, what is that going to look like? And coming all the way back, full circle before we move on, I guess, is like, yeah, we'll just have to wait and see, Bez.
We'll just have to wait and see.
Just have
We'll
to wait and see.
And that is a good full circle. But yeah, we will, I guess, continue to talk about BAFA, but we'll talk about things that happened in the BAFA Flag Football League.
Oh, yes, that happened.
In the weekend that was. The Premiership came roaring back as the South A also joined Division 1 for the first time, as we had 10 locations up and down the country with flag football taking place in the adult mixed leagues over the course of the weekend, which was wild. Collating all of the scores from various social medias and reporters on the sidelines. So thank you very much, as always, to every single one of you that feeds us results and scorecards at the end of the day. Without you, there is much less quality coverage. So thank you to everyone who opens the door and drops us what we need to see.
Very much appreciated.
It really helps us get the scores out and fills the spreadsheet, which is really the most important thing. The fact that I can build what has been described in various states of awe as
you're talking about your little sheet,
my Google Sheets document.
It is something, my man.
It's definitely something.
Something to behold.
It's definitely something to behold. So, yeah, Eve's even got tiebreakers that don't exist in the rules in it. That is how prepared I am for this year. Tracking the WFFL taught me a lot. I am prepared for anything. So let's start with Division 1.
Sure.
Because Division 1 did Division 1 things and didn't entirely happen.
Yeah, do we want to start at Duck Bowl first?
I don't know. I'm like, to be honest, like,
I have so many questions about it.
Wet weather on the West Coast. Not a shock.
I know, but surely you just suck it up and get on with it. Like, that Southern team's making a trip all the way up. That's going to be a pain in the arse to be able to reschedule those games. Like, it's not like we can just reschedule a game with the Comets. We'll just play that at the end of the next game day because you guys are there and we are there and we'll just play it. Like, you've got, like, the Centurions, the Ravens, and the Buccaneers. Like, when are you going to get a chance to see them again? So hopefully it's on the same cross-conference game days that they're there and they can just get a game.
But they're in different locations though, because like they play play the other half of the division, so they're not in the same place ever. Like,
you should have. I know the weather was probably shit, right? Sorry, but play
so
it out.
the story that I got, the information I got was that it was like people were getting hurt. Like,
was it that bad?
Like it was bad. So they were just like, honestly, lads, like, in the interest of keeping people.
It looked like they were playing off like a high street or like doing the beachfront, like car.
Well, they were. So I don't know if you've. I don't know.
All right.
I don't know if you've played at Clyde, but it's literally
I've just played. The Greenock Wanderers rugby pitches where I've played.
The rugby pitch, yeah. So they don't use that anymore. But there's a wee place, and it's literally like, it's got a nice like Astro kind of junior football stadium, and then next to that there's essentially a park with some goals, and like that's where the grass pitches are, and it is
so it's shirts like for goalpost type of thing.
Yeah, there's like the main road, like a park, and then the Clyde, like, and then the Clyde estuary. So
Jesus, man.
There's like rusting hulks of old shipbuilding equipment.
Yeah, so it's only slightly worse than the venue we were at then. Okay,
like,
we'll get to
you
that.
may like you're not when you're playing in the venue that Clyde have used the last little while. You're actually not that far away from needing like a pedalo. Like it might it might be easier to get into the center of Glasgow by rowing.
Yeah.
So
That's the first time in a while I've heard 5 cross-conference games just not happening due to bad weather in all my time playing.
I can't remember the last
which is
time there
like
was a whole game day
8
lost to
years, I
weather.
think I've been
Like,
playing it now, and I've never heard of that one before. So
Yeah,
that's my only concern is like, how does that affect? Like, I think the Silver Cats got at least 1 game in, but again they
So-
missed the Ravens game. The Comets missed 2, and the Gunslingers missed 2.
yeah. So it was like, it was weird. It's weird. Like, so the position previously has always been like games that are played, like in terms of teams withdrawing and stuff. Like, for example, let's take the situation that we discovered at length last year when the Dunfermline Kings were unable to fulfill their game days.
Oh,
That cost some teams at the end of the season games, right? Those games just didn't happen.
yeah.
And okay, they were awarded like a 1-0 win or whatever. But like, it's not like the games that were played before. So like, if anyone had lost to the Kings, it's not like that loss would have been expunged. Like, it would have stood because the game was actually played. So to me, the Centurions' victory over the Silvercats, the Ravens' win over the Gunslingers, the Silvercats' win over the Buccaneers, and the Comets' win over the Buccaneers, those games should stand.
They should do, because they were played. They were completed
Right.
fixtures.
The other 5, Comets, Ravens, Gunslingers, Bucks, Silvers, Ravens, Gunslinger, Centurions, Comet, Centurions, realistically, I don't know how you get them played. Like, unless it's like book a pitch in Moffat, right? And like, just get everyone together,
Get it done.
It's
it's
just
not going to happen.
Find a local park, turn the headlights on your car, and play at 2:00 in the morning. Like,
the problem is the Silvercats having to come all the way down for 1 game. That was my thing. Is like, like you could do another game day, but the Silvercats coming all the way down for 1 game is just it's not likely going to happen against the Ravens, because that's Manchester and Aberdeen trying to agree upon something.
Yeah.
So I can definitely see those games not happening, and then that might impact. I hope it doesn't. I mean, it's only Div 1 at the end of the day. Who cares? But I mean, I know it means more to other people than me. But like, are they going to care? Oh, we didn't make playoffs because of that. Oh, we didn't play 1 more game than they did. And someone's going to say, like, I just don't care anymore, Bez. Like, it's just Div 1. It doesn't matter. We're not playing to get an Olympics place. We're not. Some of them might be if they want to, but they're not going to. They might treat it like that. But yeah, I don't see it happening, unfortunately. That was my only takeaway from that game day, is like, I just don't see it happening again.
Yeah.
But
So so I've just looked it up. Despite the fact there's 3 game days, the Ravens and the Silvers are not scheduled to be in the same location.
Cross conference together.
So you couldn't even agree to do like the 4th game at the end of the day.
An extra game. That was my first initial thought process was, is there an opportunity for them to be at the same venue or whatever?
When the Ravens are in week 6, the Ravens are at Glasgow, but the Silvers are in West Lancashire. And then in week 4,
well, they could play on the way past each other.
They could play on the way back. You
could
play at Gretna. Edinburgh.
Just play at Gretna service station.
Yeah, week 4, Aberdeen are in Edinburgh, and the Ravens are just coming up to Carlisle. So they are just not. So the obvious outcome is like, find a way to get the games played. Given that they probably won't be, you may as well just, like, the Silvers are only going to play 17 games this year rather than 18. Sorry. Like, the Centurions are only going to, maybe, but like,
so what's been said?
For the Gunslingers and the Centurions and the Ravens, we're basically a tie. 2 ties is basically a win and a loss. So is it better to have a win and a loss, or is it better to just not have the games at all? Like, I don't know. Someone else can do the maths on that, but
that's the thing. Like, because Mikey Scott doesn't exist in his position anymore. We can't just go into a wee group chat and go, "Hey, what's kind of been said from a BAFA perspective? What's going on?"
And to answer my own question, the difference is, if you're only going to play 16 games, as would happen for the Comets and Centurions, the Gunslingers and the Ravens, every other game now counts for like a higher percentage. So like wins mean more and losses mean more, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, giving everyone a tie, I guess, negates that, but
the Gunslingers will take a tie against the
it
Centurions.
also kind of doesn't, because it's like a bit artificial. Like,
well, the Centurions won't want two ties.
The Centurions won't want two ties, and they will have come up here thinking that the Gunslingers game is a win and the Comets game is probably a win as well. Like they will firmly have believed that. But the game isn't played on paper. Like if the game, like this is my thing, like if the game is not played, I don't see, forfeits are different, right? If one team doesn't show up, then yes, I walk over to their team. Totally fine, right? If the game is not happening because of the weather, I don't see how you can just invent a score. Like you can't just be like, oh, it's, say they both got safeties on the first play of the game and then no one scored from them. It's 2-2. You can't, right? And just calling it a tie, even if you don't put a number on it, is still like inventing a score. So to me, if the games are not played by, what is it, the end of August?
That'll be something like the end of August or something like that, yeah.
Then they just aren't.
But is that not what happened? When was the situation, Bez, where the Comets, this happened to the Comets and the Silvercats as well, where they something happened where the game couldn't be completed or something.
There was a clash.
This was only like 2 years ago. That's it. And the games didn't happen.
Yeah, but that was a negotiation with the teams where they like
so it's a little bit different, I know, but it's still the same situation where the Comets would have got more wins and higher wins percentages, and they would have had more games, and there was a whole argument around that as well.
Yeah.
We can only talk about the games that did happen, and
turned out good for them in the end though, because they went on to win the plate that year, I think, didn't they? Or make the plate final.
I think so, something like that. Yeah.
So turned out
well that year.
Turned out pretty good for them. But yes, let's talk about the games that did actually happen. So the games that did happen in Clyde, the Silvercats and the Centurions played out a pretty solid 25-32 game with the Centurions getting the victory there. Silvercats went on to beat the Buccaneers 26-13. Comets had already picked up a win over the same Buccaneers, 25-12. While the Ravens and the Gunslingers was a 47-12 win for the away team in the Ravens. So on the other side of the Highland North A battle, just so that we can then go and have a look at the at the overall standings to make it nice and easy for us.
This will now be Mud Bowl 2.0, by the way.
Mud Bowl 2.0. Okay. Pretty filthy day in Salford.
Mate, I would probably say this is up there with one of the worst venues I've ever played at in my life. It was like fair play. Like it's a nice like clubhouse. It's obviously a rugby pitch. There must have been a rugby game played on there literally the day before. It felt like, and the pitch is on an angle. So like if you're running from goalpost to goalpost, it's obviously like if you're running for rugby, the pitch goes from right to left down a hill. But the way they set up the flag pitches was you were either running up a hill or running down a hill.
Oh, I love that.
And it was just mud and churned up and like big muddy patches in the middle, and it heaved it down with rain during the first set of games when we were playing. And honestly, Bez, it was not pretty. Luckily, it was not studgy mud. It was like hard mud, but like it was still muddy and horrible. And there was a few white kits that are no longer white.
You know what?
Guess what kit the Chargers rolled out with? Their brand new white kit.
Because
First day Mud Bowl, brand new white kit. Yeah,
the Mustangs brand new one's white as well. Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah.
So two brand new kits unveiled on the same day on the muddiest venue.
So it's the muddiest venue you'll ever see in your life. So like, if you've got Bold or Parcel or something, you've got a perfect opportunity here.
Oh, jeez.
It was some venue, Bez, but it was pretty horrible conditions to play in. But it dried up. So it didn't dry up, but it wasn't worse by the end as it was with the weather. The weather was terrible to start, and then it kind of was okay at the end. It was cold and a bit damp, but it was all right.
There is like nothing that defines amateur sport more than you being able to like describe the different types of mud.
Yeah.
Like,
That's literally it. Yeah. Oh, I was like, just give me like, I can't wait to play an AstroTurf again. Like that's the one difference already I've noticed between Prem and Div 1 is referee quality is shambolic in Division 1, and pitches playing on an Astro. Those are the two big difference makers. Now, hands off to the Chargers. They were the best refereeing crew that I've seen in Div 1 this season. So fair play to the lads. I messaged Dave directly about that as well. They were great. But the other refereeing crew we had was just shocking. And then the field quality. Like that's the difference between Prem and Div 1. It's so noticeable, Bez. That you just wouldn't. That's where you can tell it's not the same. But yeah, anyways, it was an interesting set of results, though.
It was a very interesting set of results.
During
So
the day.
there was a lot of eyes
Yeah, yeah.
on this particular game day going in because 3 of the undefeated teams from week 1 were all in action. We had the West Lancashire Serpents, we had the West Lothian Chargers, and we had the Grange. 2 of them played dirty but got out with a clean record in the Mustangs and the Chargers. So they now both move to 5-0, top of.
I think 4-0 for the Mustangs. I think they're 2.
Oh yeah, they only played 2 week 1, right? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So they're 4-0 and Chargers 5-0.
Yeah, Chargers 5-0, Mustangs 4-0, and they still don't play each other till much later in the season. So hopefully that's a run that continues for a while with both of them holding on to their unblemished record. But Serpents started the day looking good against the Tridents with a 56-12 win, but then dropped the game to the Mustangs 33-27 in what looked like an almighty tussle. And then 42-6 to the Serpents, an absolute blowout for West Lothian.
Yeah, outplayed them across the park.
Oh, really?
The Serpents did. Yeah, the Serpents didn't look like an undefeated 3-0 team in Div 1. The Chargers just absolutely demolished them.
Yes,
I don't know whether the conditions didn't help there or what, but yeah, the Serpents didn't. I don't know what happened in that game, but they just didn't. The Chargers handled them like it was good to watch.
I also got the score wrong I read the wrong score. So Mustangs 33, Tridents 27, Mustangs 33-19 to the Serpents. So I got that one the wrong way around. Chargers rounded off their away day with a 44-6 over the Tridents, who had a pretty rough day on the receiving ends of a couple of beatings. Good win for the Killer Bees, 27-20 over the Stingers. Good win for the Killer Bees. The Wirral Vikings. Talk to me about the Wirral Vikings, Tree. 34-19 over the Bees, and then 39-38 Colts over the Vikings. So they're clearly capable of chucking up points.
Yeah, they are. Over their big unit, tall guys, good quarterback, sits in the pocket, reads it really well. Yeah, I think the Vikings, they're one of those teams where I thought, like, even going at the weekend, the Wirral Vikings have always been a competitive team at the top of Division 1. They have been for many years. And it's very evident. They played particularly well against the Killer Bees. Quite clinical in that game, to be honest. They got a few sort of deep pushes over the top, and the Killer Bees had a lot of bad drops. Best, honestly, it was not great. There was a couple over the top where Youngie was a bit disappointed in his players not catching them. It could have been probably a couple. It could have been a lot closer. I think just the conditions and the dirt and the mud and running up a hill chasing a game is not the best for anybody. So there was a few drop passes, kind of deep threats that if he just caught them, then that score is a lot closer for the Killer Bees. And even like Killer Bees Stingers game, that was a close game. I think the Killer Bees were actually up 2 scores early, then started to rotate. Things got tight and close, and the Killer Bees just managed to scrape that one out. But the Vikings, good team. I think we beat them by a point. Cracking game, really enjoyed it. Just back and forth throughout, really, the whole time. It was just back and forward, just scoring. That was the worst conditions at that point. It was absolutely heaving it down. But it was it's good to get a win on the board, Bezin, against the Viking. A good team, as we've seen from the results now. They beat the Killer Bees, and obviously they're sitting quite pretty at I think 3 and 2 now.
They had a pretty good
So,
they'll
be in playoff contention.
3-2. And shout out to Big Joe, friend of the show, and
I had fun with that.
At EP
I had
Sports.
fun with that one.
Shout out to him for the Vikings. 111 points over 3 games is not too shabby. We'll certainly take that, and they're going to win a lot more if the offense keeps up that form.
They'll be playoff bound, Bez. Definitely.
Stingers, 2 games, 20 points in both of them. 3 games, sorry. 20 points in all 3 games, lost them all. Brutal. Absolutely brutal.
The Stingers looked okay. They were rather consistent.
Very consistent.
Played like this sort of they played this really sort of studgy 3-1 defense. Couple sort of quick guys on the outsides. They're all right team. I think I was up 2 scores. I nearly had 3 scores up. I think we were nearly 3-0 up on them. But I had the good old stepping over the line when trying to pitch pass to someone.
Oh no!
We could have been 3 scores up in the first half, Bez. But yeah, it wasn't ideal. But yeah, again, that's just now got another win on the board. That was a good win against the Stingers to kind of keep the momentum going. And the Stingers again, they're okay. They'll get a few wins this season. I think they've got 1 win so far. That it won't end at 1. They'll end up getting 3 or 4 or 5 as the season sort of progresses and goes on. So the Stingers won't be. The Stingers are not. They're putting points up again. You're putting 20 against the Vikings. Again, we know they're a good team. They're putting 20 against the Bees. Again, always consistent at the top of the Div 1. So I think that they'll not be too far away from being competitive this year with the Stingers. And that little bunch, I think Serpents and Vikings are probably better than the Stingers. So the Stingers are probably around about Tridents, and I'll be between the 2 of them for 5th and 6th. From what I've seen so far, anyway, I've obviously not seen the Ravens or Centurions, but it looks like they're kind of succumb to like the 5th, 6th, 7th wee battle, I think. So.
You'll get a look at them soon enough, don't you worry.
It won't be long. I mean, I'm just glad I was going at the weekend. Neely was asking me in the car down. I was like, "Oh, how do you feel about the games this weekend?" I was like, Greg, Neely, gotta get the name out eventually. I was like, I don't know. Like, I wasn't like I was obviously nervousness going into it because obviously you didn't get a win in the first week, and it was just I spoke openly about it. And the guys didn't like me speaking. It's like you need to give us more credit. I'm like, no, you were shit on defense. Like that's you see it now. Like even looking at the standings you've got, what are we 143 points for? Which is, better than the Mustangs in second, but we've doubled the points against. Like we conceded 166. You can't do that. Like that's the reason why we didn't win any games in the first game day. So it's we'll get there. But I said this at the start, like with the podcast, we spoke about this before. I don't have to say it again. But as the season goes on, we'll just continue to get better as we spend more time together. So. Yeah, it was just nice to get 2 good by looking at the results. That's a good confidence booster. They'll be in playoff contention. They obviously handled their business against the Killer Bees, so and also the Stingers as well. So I think,
it's the big thing about cross conference because there's no return leg. Like if you can get a tie-breaking win, even if right now, they have a better win percentage. It might not matter. Like that single 1 win over them later in the year could be the thing.
Yeah, well, we've not played the Killer Bees yet, and then obviously that's a breaker there. We beat the Vikings, they didn't. We've not played the Killer Bees yet. So I see as the season goes on, I think we'll be pretty competitive against the Comets, I think, on the return leg, the Killer Bees in the 2, the Silvercats, where it was a 1-point game. It was great. The Mustangs, it was a close one. Obviously, no idea how we're going to get against the Chargers. They're playing quite well this season, so I think the whole of Div 1, I think from 2nd to 6th is, I think, pretty wide open.
It's unreal.
I think that you're right. The cross conference is going to be that determining factor.
Like you have to keep pace with the teams. Like you have, like if you're in North A or North B or Midlands or whatever, doesn't matter. You have to. If the team in your division above you beats a certain team in cross conference, you have to. Like the imperative is now you have to also beat that team.
You've got to do it.
Because you don't want that to be the tiebreaker because it's if you win it, it's a free win basically. Like it's a big deal. So the 2 North A Highland cross conferences gives us The Chargers and Mustangs unblemished at the top of the table. The Silvercats at 3-2, the Killer Bees at 3-2 as well. They are simply broken on net points per game as they've not played each other yet. I don't think. No, they've not played each other yet. Silvercats obviously have one game missing, and then the Comets 2-2, the Colts 2-3, and the Gunslingers 0-4. Whereas in North A, the Centurions, they only got one game done, but they didn't lose it, so they sit top of the table with a 100% record, having played 4-1-4. The Ravens played 3 at 2-1. The Serpents played 5, 3-2, along with the Vikings, also 3-2. The Serpents hold that tiebreaker over the Vikings by virtue of a fairly hefty Week 1 win, 52-39, which follows up by our one-win teams, the Stingers and the Tridents, with the Chorley Buccaneers still hunting for that elusive first win of the year. So it's all go. And we
Chargers new strips are nice, by the way.
Pardon?
You seen them?
The white ones.
Charger strips are nice.
I saw the photos afterwards. They do look pretty.
Cool.
Pretty
I think
slick.
I think that's kind of who I was speaking to, but I think they've got an alternative like blue color one as well. I don't know whether they'll rock that out the next game day. I think they've got another. I think so, yeah, because they were saying that they got the white ones for this weekend. I don't know. I can't remember, but I think they've got another strip to unveil. I think I'm not too sure. I need to ask them. Just on kit front, I think the Mustangs kit was quite nice as well. I quite like that. It's a very different sort of on shirt design. I quite liked it. It's nice.
Looking forward to seeing that like in person. Both of them, to be fair, in person.
It's just good to kind of see what they're going, like the branding, the Chargers with their new logo and new strips, and then obviously Mustangs, new team, new kit. And the next a wee bit of flair for us to
always new kits are always
things
exciting.
up a wee bit.
New kits are definitely always exciting.
Did you see the other Div 1 score? I know obviously you put them into a graphic bed, but did you see some of the scores down south? How was the train journey across the locomotive? To
we're gonna go down. We're gonna go south.
Too long on this because we're already been going for quite long, but
we're gonna go south A, south B very quickly.
Oh, okay. I just pick some results
and just fly around. Things that were interesting. Obviously, South A, welcome to the club for the first time. That saw the Sharks B appear, the Bucks Wolves appear, all for the first time. And the Wolfpack, the Berkshire Wolfpack appeared, and they were hosting, and it was a mixed day for the teams, kind of making their debut, as it were. However, the Bucks Wolves, they went on last year, and they took the plate, the Div 1 plate last year. Div 1 defending plate champions, 3 games, 2 wins. The same with VPP, who were in arguably game of the entire weekend.
Big time.
With
that's the game I was alluding to, is whether
with
we're
the Hammerheads
or not, because
like a
we
Western.
knew that was going to be a good game going into
it.
That is ultimately, that could be your BAFA Div 1 final matchup, 100%.
Oh, that's a preview. That is a playoff game preview. That absolutely unbelievable 46-47 win for the Hammerheads. Hammerheads were stomping, and have continued to do so. 71-0 over the Renegades. A rough outing for the Renegades. 58-8. Sorry, they lost to the Gators, and 70-6 they lost to the Falcons.
Points for 14 points against 199.
Yeah, that was not fun maths to do, to be honest.
How?
It was not fun maths to do, unfortunately. Yeah, it puts them bottom of South A. The Salisbury Marauders also had an equally kind of rough afternoon, but kept it a bit closer, I guess. Only 19-6 to the Gators, 53-26 to the Falcons, and 59-9 went down to the Hammerheads. The Gators, I think, are the Gators for me are an interesting team. I commentated on one of their games a couple of years ago at Div 1. 58-0 over the Renegades. And they lost 27-13 to the Gators. And I don't know if, VPP then went and beat the Falcons 51-13. So, it's hard on that single day to work out kind of, they're what, 3-2. So I think they're all right. I think they're going to be good, but
that's like the Vikings for me, the World Vikings. They're one of those teams that they will be. I think they should be in the playoffs. They'll be playoff bound, and even a 13-27 against VPP, they held VPP to 27 points.
That's pretty. Given what VPP did in the other two games, that's pretty good, right? But
that's what I'd read into it. And obviously, we're not there. We don't know the circumstances, rotations, winning by a lot, get guys in. Yeah. Is that the difference? Obviously, we have no idea. But if you're holding the VPP to only 27 points, where they scored 46 against the Hammerheads, it's a very different. Obviously, scenarios are wonderful, and we can talk about these lovely flag football hypotheses. But I think the Gators, they're sort of playoff comfortable. I think if they just keep going the way they are, I think probably Vikings, again, they'll not be too far away. Those are the two teams that can, from there. The VPP, they'll be up there. I think from everything I've seen so far,
I think when VPP play the Wolves, I think that'll give you a real benchmark of where everybody is in that division. Because obviously they're a week behind. They've only played cross conference so far, so they've not got into kind of playing against each other tie breaks yet.
Yeah. It's like it's like the Chargers Centurions game. Same thing. That'll give you a real telltale sign about where the Chargers are, where the Centurions are from up here.
Yeah,
when they play against each other, that'll set the difference there.
That's going to be a wild game day as well.
That'll be a good game. That'll be a good one. I'll be looking forward. I hope I'm there at the same day. It'll be good to watch that one. I don't know if I'm at the same game day, but should have
week.
Oh, maybe find it. I don't know what.
I can try and find out. I think you might be. No, you're not.
No,
you're not. You're not there, unfortunately.
Oh,
if you'd been a Mustang, you would have been, but you're not. So.
No, I'm not. No, wrong team. Team. I missed that one. Well, never mind. So that's going to be a good game. That one. So if anyone's at Div 1 game day, Centurions Chargers will be a good game, and I think Centurions Mustangs again. That'll see where the Mustangs actually are as well. That's another one. You're right. That's actually
a big day. That's actually a very big game day
because they'll play each other the same day, right?
So week 4. Yeah, week 4 it's back-to-back games. So
Border
City at home, pitch 1, game 2. Pitch 2, game 1. Border City versus West Lothian, and then immediately Border City versus Grangemouth, and then
perfect.
Yeah, so that's a big.
So
and
for
then they play the Manchester Ravens to end their day as well. So that's a three game day for them.
So that's what's really that. I think even that game day, that's going to really set the tone for playoff contentions at the end of the year. Because obviously, looking at the playoff picture, like the Chargers and the Centurions will probably be, they're going to be hustling out for that sort of top. Because you want to be in the top 4. Because then
you want to be in the top 4, top 6, top 6. Well, top 8 will get you a bye, but winning your division guarantees you top 6. So
yeah, you missed 2 games, but that doesn't mean anything when you're the Swansea Hammerheads, though.
No, that's true. But are they going to be as good if they don't have to go on a run? Like if they've already got a double bye, like they're not going to have to kill any Giants the way. They are the Giants.
I'm sure Harley's gonna.
I'm sure they'll be just fine.
Take 2 games
I'm sure they'll be just fine. So yeah, if we move on to the probably most competitive up there with the most competitive Division 1 division, that's North B, Newcastle Blackhawks.
That's a biggie.
Finally dropped the game, so they're 5-1. Samurai also 5-1. Giants Blue 3-2. Stingrays 2-2. Warthogs 2-3. Giants Black 1-4. With the Locos 0-6 there after a cross-conference game, which saw the Waveney Wolves continue their undefeated start to the season. They go 5-0, and they're looking pretty good in that division. Longhorns chasing them down at 5-1, but below that it's the Nottingham Bears at 3-2, the Nottingham Honey Badgers at 2-3-1, the Leicester Huntsmen also at 2-3-1, with the Panthers B at 2-4, and the Roosters of South Yorkshire still hunting for that elusive first win of the season. So starting to see a little bit of separation now.
Seen trends. Yep. And I was surprised that the Blackhawks dropping a game.
Yeah, to the Wolves, wasn't
it? 8-6 to the Bears.
8-6 to the Bears. Yeah, that was that. Yes, I do remember that coming in and having to genuinely check.
Yeah, that was an odd one, because that's just one score each. That's like whether it's a sack or a 2-point conversion, but like a 1-score game. Like, it's unusual for the Blackhawks for that to happen. Obviously, I had them up there with doing quite well this season, whether it's a blip or traveling or whatever. But that was a very surprising loss. I wasn't expecting that. Of all the
Bears
things I've seen for
Bears
the
had
weekend,
a good day though. Like, they won that game close. They dropped the game to the Samurai, and then they kind of let all of their frustration out on the Locomotives, I think.
Yeah.
So
that's probably the only result I'd say that was like, oh, that's an interesting one.
That one was up there. Yeah, that one I think was fairly was the kind of the final, the close one that the close upset is probably the biggest upset of the weekend in Division 1.
I couldn't really see any others that I was like, oh, that I wasn't expecting that, or I was like, oh, that's a bit unusual. That was probably the one I was like, that kind of caught me off guard.
Yeah.
But
so
other than that, most things kind of went as expected.
That gives us our full Division 1 standings, with the Hammerheads, the Bucks Wolves, the Waveney Wolves, and the Border City Centurions are our top 4, who would receive a double bye. They're all undefeated division leaders. That kind of order is simply based on net points per game, because none of them have played each other. Also receiving a single bye at the moment would be the Chargers, also undefeated, followed by the Blackhawks, Mustangs, and Samurai. And then it would get pretty interesting in the wildcard round, as the Longhorns, the Lincolnshire Longhorns, would take on the Wirral Vikings. The Manchester Ravens would take on the West Lancashire Serpents. The Chichester Sharks would take on the Aberdeen Silvercats. And Victoria Park Panthers would take on the Exeter Falcons. So, tasty. Just on the outside looking in, and literally on the outside looking in by virtue of points difference and tiebreakers.
0.4.
Are the Bears, the Gators, the Coyotes, the Giants Blue, and the Killer Bees. They've all got a 60% win percentage, which is technically a tie for the 14th seed, but that runs all the way down to 21st. So, tight.
Very. I had one last thing to mention, Bez, before we move on to Prem.
Yep.
Is there might be suspensions for the next game day. There was ejections in the Div 1 game day where we were at.
Oh, wow.
It was, I believe, the Serpents' best player and one of the Mustangs' best players.
Oh, okay. So I need to wait and see what lightning bolts are thrown down from the officiating committee.
So do they miss the next game day? Do they miss a game from the next game day? How does that impact the Mustangs? How does that impact the Serpents? I don't know, because they were thrown out, and I don't know whether they just missed the next game on the same game day, or whether there's bans, or because there was punches thrown. Apparently, I don't know whether that was true or not.
It depends. Like, if it's
exactly, but that could impact the Serpents next game day and Mustangs potentially. But again, I just thought I'd let you know, Bez. Being Gregson with the news is not here, and I thought I'd give you some Div 1 fisticuffs.
Yeah, I think there is. Yeah, so you players removed from the game immediately, not permitted to return. Additionally, that player will not be eligible to take part in any other game on that game day, nor any game on the following game day, which extends into playoffs and the following season if necessary. The offending player is also subject to a £25 fine to be paid before they are eligible to return to play. The team is also subject to a £50 fine to be paid in order to be eligible to register with the league the following season. Repeated red cards may result in an extended or full ban from BAFA competition.
So that might impact the next game day for the Serpents and the Mustangs, because they were both ejected.
Yeah, so that will be something to keep an eye on there.
Something to note.
Yeah. Something to be aware of.
Given the news bit, this is us giving the inside news and the turmoils and the ins and outs around the league, not just scores and results, the actual, ground
the real news.
Yeah, the real news.
So
Player
don't
should
know.
be dun player ban.
Banned. So yeah, moving down to, let's start south. Prem A, what is looking like it's going to be an absolutely insane division.
It's ridiculous.
The Rebels made their return. The Spark got their first taste of Premiership action, while the Smoke, the Flash, and the Sharks on the Devils all returned to action in the Premier League. Smoke did Smoke things, played 3 games, won them all. The Sharks put up a fight though, only going down 27-20 to the 2-time defending and reigning national champions. While
Sharks are good though. Like, I've always ranked the Shark squad; they're really good. But then they got beat.
I think the youth movement was in full swing. I hear the youth movement was in full swing as well. Which I think was the first time that some of the London teams had seen the guys. Obviously, we were lucky enough to.
We've seen them a few times now. Yeah.
Play against them at Quake, and also saw them at some of the SCOF tournaments as well. So they are.
That's great that those tournaments have helped though with their development to put them in a position to compete against these teams now.
So now that the lads are in the league, that pushes us close to retirement age, I guess.
Yeah, just a little bit.
So Smoke and Devils undefeated. Devils beat the Flash, and the Spark did what they had to there, which obviously gives us the juicy potential of the Devils Smoke game to come at some point. Devils played 2-1-2, Smoke played 3-1-3. Sharks played 2-1-1. Flash played 3-1-2. With the Rebels and the Spark looking to pick up their first wins of the season in week 2. Also, to be fair, also a division which looks like anarchy could break out at any moment. The Neptunes came back, returned after being in the promotion relegation playoff last year. Got themselves out of it, earned the right to stay in the Premiership. Smashed the Kings, 50 points to 27, but then went down in a war of attrition to the Titans, 31-26. The Kings,
that one, though. They're good team.
Having come off that disappointment to the Neptunes, then went and put 53 on the Phoenix. The Panthers did their best to keep pace with the return of the Hurricanes, putting 33 points on them, despite losing 46-33, but then put another 33 points on the Phoenix. In the Hurricanes, though, imperious with a 44-13 win over the Northants Titans, and a 40-6 win over the Kings to go with their Panthers victory, to put them in a familiar position at the top of the table, and maybe a little warning shot to the rest of the league that these Hurricanes are the ones you may remember from a few years ago. So in South B, we have Hurricanes played 3-1-3. The Northants Titans 1-1, lost 1. The Neptunes lost 1-1-1. The Panthers lost 1-1-1. And the Kings at 1-2, with the Phoenix at 0-2. So yeah, 3 teams on 1-1, currently split into that order by net points per game. Actually, no, that's a weird one that I couldn't really work out. The Titans had beaten the Neptunes, the Neptunes are better than the Panthers on net points per game, but the Panthers and the Titans haven't played each other, so I just rank them like that. So however the official BAFA standings make that look will be accurate. I wasn't being very productive at work, put it that way. I'll be honest about it. Which brings us back to the north. which took place the day before. And there's some pretty good results coming. So we're going to...
yeah, just a few.
We'll start off with the Premiership. We'll start off in the Northern Conference with the Northern Division. So the Battle of Manchester, the Manchester Derby, is still to come. So as one may expect, the Crows and the Titans both took care of business the way we would expect. The last couple of years, those Manchester Derbies have decided this division. At the moment, do not see that changing. The Crows have taken down the Titans, Bees, the Scorpions, and the Revolution, outscoring those opposition by a fairly hefty amount. While the Titans have done exactly the same to the Revolution, Scorpions, and Bandits, 56-0, 41-6, and 54-7 to the Titans. The Crows won their games 34-13, 32-12, and 47-12. Scorpions got their win over the Revolution, who had a torrid day, really. 3 games and only mustered 12 points. I think the Scorpions would have felt better on the way home after that shutout against the Revs to end it. While the Wigan Bandits got a win over the Titans Bees, but fell to the big boys, as many teams do, against last year's 4th placed team in BAFA. So no real surprises there, Tree. But maybe some clarity on how the 3 to 6 are going to finish up.
I literally took the words out of my mouth. Like, seeing the Bandits in 3rd, but it's too early. They're 1-1. You're in 1 and 2. It is too early to say. Always the big deciding factor is Titans Crows play each other twice. That's a deciding factor for them. But what plays a huge impact here is cross conference games. Is the HNC dominance over these teams over years gone by has really affected the results here. Having the Broncos, Hornets, Oilcats traditionally go down and beat them, that often upsets the standings here as well. And the Titans Crows, that's why that matchup is so important, because getting a win over your opponent, you've got to keep up with them in the cross conference. But I think everything. I think
last year they did as well. I think the Titans and the Crows had exactly the same. Did they have the same cross conference record? I think they did. So
I think they did.
It was.
We'll see. Well, there's only one game day, and it's hard to read into it, but I think this is going as we expected it to. Titans and Crows, the rest.
Yeah.
And you said I would pick Titans or Crows. I'm sure I went with Titans.
I think you went with Titans.
Crows. Yeah, they're not gonna.
And that brings us to the most northerly Premiership game day ever.
Ever.
As the HNC went to Keith for the first time.
How was your travel, Bez? And the more important question that we all want to know about: how was your travel?
Do you want to talk you through my game day?
I mean, we've been going on a podcast for a while now. You talk about it as much as you feel necessary.
Oh, I will. Okay, so woke up in the morning. Sun was already up, which is always a great start.
Oh, nice.
Got up, and thought, actually, I only need to leave here at 8 o'clock. That's when my local bakery opens. And they do outrageous coffee. So, Tree, the bakery, when we were away a couple of weeks ago, and I brought you a sticky bun, a little cake.
You did?
That is the bakery I went to.
That went down a treat.
Got a nice little coffee and a bun to start. Drove through to Keith. It was very leisurely. Arrived at the venue, got myself nice and warmed up, good to go, and then on the way home, I stopped off back in the lovely Speyside town of Aberlour and picked up a cup of coffee and something for tea, and got home, and it was great. And I was like I said, home by 3 o'clock. Cannot complain about that at all. Little bit concerned that I'm going to get rinsed when next time I have to talk about going to Alloa. So 2 things need to happen there. 1, I need to set my alarm clock, and 2, I need to find out where Alloa is. So,
as long as you had fun, it was close to home. That's all that matters.
And I think it was the only sunny day. I think it was the only sunny day on the of any football on the Saturday.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
Didn't rain. Threatened it once. It was a bit windy, but it was predominantly windy with blue skies.
Oh, okay, that's not so bad.
So we'll take that. We'll absolutely take that. And yeah, what a game day it was. So
I heard.
there was a lot. There was a lot going on. So Broncos 35-12 over the Raptors to open the season. In a game where the Raptors kind of came back at them, and then the margin opened up again. But there was a moment in the second half where it was close. And then
Okay.
yeah, I think the Broncos like immediately slammed the door shut. But there was a moment where it was like, oh, hello, what's going on here?
So Raptors looking okay?
Raptors looked all right. Raptors looked good. Rough opening day, basically. But yeah, they were fine. They will be fine. Oilcats Distillers, big win for the Oilcats, 57-0 over the Distillers.
Welcome to the Prime.
Yeah, welcome to the Prem. Distillers handled it very well. Good, really good to see a couple of the guys that have come over from the Wildcats and the Stags programs. They've kind of got it over the rookie days over the winter. Ziggy and Ewan both played well. Ziggy was in at quarterback. While Ewan was at his evasive best. So for the guys, anyone that hasn't played him yet, he's the one that's got the hips, and they do not lie. So yeah, good for them to get kind of into the league. We always knew it was going to be a hard day for them, up against 3 playoff teams from last year. But yeah, no, they didn't lose their heads or anything like that throughout the day. So yeah, credit to them, even though it was, as we said on the last show, a rough beginning to welcome to the league. So yeah, Outlaws 41, Distillers 6, and then Hornets 53, Distillers 0. So to end that day one. Oilcats and the Broncos was utterly insane. Like we were up in the first half by a couple scores, good couple scores, I think. And then they made some changes on offense. We didn't really react very well to that, and then I think they got a stop. And then they got the classic score either side of halftime to narrow the gap down again. And then yeah, they won the second half. I would have to go back and check the tape, but I think we may have scored the same number of touchdowns. They were just much more efficient on extra points, and that was the win.
Oh, really? Okay.
I would have to check. But they were much more efficient on extra points than us. So yeah, I think we did actually score the same number of touchdowns. And as we always say, and as everyone says, remember, kids, extra points matter the most. So yeah, that's 3 games now. Our last 3 league games with the Broncos, and there's it's been a total combined 16-point difference between us, and they've won all 3. So yeah, still good to be able to have a close game with them. And yeah, we'll see them again on the last day of the season. That's it. We don't see them again now until August or September, whenever it is. So we'll see. I think
did Greg turn up? Did he play?
No, Greg was not playing. We were down a sim.
He said he wasn't sure whether he would make it or not. Yeah.
No, he was off to Brora with the Highland League. So I think it was Brora. Yeah, it was Brora. So yeah, we'll see them later in the year. So that put the Oilcats on 1-1 for the day. But the result of the day that has everybody talking: Broncos 26, Hornets 26. Our first tie in the HNC in for as long as I can remember, and the first time since before the pandemic that the Hornets haven't won a regular season game. Now, they haven't lost a game yet. They still haven't lost a game since before the pandemic.
Yeah.
But they didn't win one. So, yeah, that was... I didn't see much of that game, unfortunately, because we were on the other pitch playing at the same time. So we were kind of aware of what was going on. But ended in a tie, which is going to give us the classic like weird win percentages for the rest of the year for those two. So yeah,
They
and
can tie again in week 2. So
yeah, exactly. They're back at it again in week 2 for pretty much all the marbles. That's a massive tiebreaker now. Like it's essentially a 1-game shootout for the tiebreaker. So it is going to be absolute filth, that game. I'm really looking forward to watching it. Although knowing my luck, we'll be playing at the time. But if not, that is the game that I will be parked on. So don't worry. So let's find out. Grangemouth Broncos. Oh no, we're not. Oh, we're reffing it. Great, fantastic.
even better.
The Raptors will be psyched to not be part of that game after their refereeing schedule in week 1. So yeah, and to finish it off, good day to be an outlaw. 41-6 over the Distillers, 26-13 over the Raptors. So as the only unbeaten team in the Highland Division, they sit top of the table with a 100% win percentage. The Broncos are 2-0-1 with a slightly odd 83.3%. While the Hornets essentially 1.5 to half or 1-0-1, 75% win percentage. All Cats in 4th, 50%, while the Raptors and Distillers are still looking to pick up their first ever win, which in our first way too early, if the season ended today, the Titans, Devils, Hurricanes, and Outlaws would be your top 4 earning the bye, and we would have the London Smoke versus the Coventry Panthers, the Manchester Crows versus the Cheltenham Neptunes, the Grangemouth Broncos versus the Chichester Sharks, and the Glasgow Hornets versus the Aberdeen Oilcats would be your wildcard round games. So yeah, obviously 5 more game days to go before we have to worry about any of that, but that is how it looks.
There you go. Well done, us.
Prem is back. Div 1 is in full flow, and we have all manner of madnesses coming up as we get towards the 13th and no, not the 13th, 14th, but the 11th and 12th of May, which will be our next game day. So 2 weeks to go.
Something like that. It's Eurovision weekend, so.
Oh, is it?
I think who's hosting? Yeah, it's Eurovision on the 11th on Saturday night. So I think we're playing at the Chargers. Is it Chargers venue we're playing at next? I can never remember these things.
I think you are at the Chargers. Yeah.
I think we get. Then it's home, showered, order a dinner, and then enjoy the Eurovision.
I'll be working my way back from.
Where are you playing, Bez? Where are you off to?
Alloa.
You're in Alloa,
which is being hosted by the Hornets. We're off to Alloa, which I think is probably flag football first football in Alloa. So this pitch booking thing in Scotland is utterly insane. Trying to get a patch of Astro at the weekend in Scotland is getting more and more and more difficult every year.
Very much so. It seems a constant thing right now that teams are really struggling. Like, I know that you Aberdeen lot have a big issue up there, but like to also have the same thing down here is like, odd.
Do you want to know
really get much of a chance to do it this year, though? Do
you want to know how we solved the issue in Aberdeen this year? We booked a pitch that doesn't exist yet. Actually, to be fair, I think now it exists, but at the time it was still being laid, so no one had booked anything on it. So we booked it. So we we booked it. So that was it. This was the first time. This was the first time in my career of booking pitches in Aberdeen that I've only had to ask one person. I sent one email, I got a yes, and I was like, done. I'm not even asking anyone else for a quote. This is it, done. So yeah, that's looking forward to being on some crisp Astro. But that's not till week 6. We are the final home game of the year. So Keith and Aberdeen to bookmark the season for the HNC Prem. And yeah, I think that is us. We have managed to get through every game from all 10 venues last weekend.
Look at us. Look at us. It's not just the way the HNC it, it's the way we flag football it.
We are, expanding our reach significantly. And like we teased near the beginning of the show, make sure you pay attention next week because there is going to be an awful lot happening on our social media channels and also on on the podcast as well. So please make sure that you do all the normal stuff about following along, and we'll catch you very soon. But Tree, is there any other business you'd like to end on?
Not from me, Bez. I think I'm just excited that we got 2 wins off the board for the Colts. GG's to my guys. GG's to you and putting all these spreadsheets together. I'm a spreadsheet guy, and I like the spreadsheets. It was cool. Thanks to, again, all the teams that got us the results in. So it's just thanks to everyone for continuing to be an awesome community. It's been so far through the season, it's been amazing. So thank you very much, Bez, for all your hard work. And I look forward to seeing the output of next week, Bez. I look forward to being a flag football enthusiast next week, watching the social medias come through.
Absolutely.
An exciting week next week.
Absolutely. Cool. I couldn't have said it better myself, in which case we will just sign off. It is goodbye from Tree.
See you later. Bye-bye.
And it is goodbye from me. I'm your host, Bez. Thank you very much for listening to us. That is the way we HNC it. Remember that you can be sure to never miss an episode of The Way We HNC It by subscribing on whatever platform you listen on and ensuring that you leave us a couple of stars as a review. To be honest, we're not entirely sure what that does, but if you enjoy the show, give us some decent stars and tell your friends. And if you don't enjoy the show, then feel completely free to tell nobody about it. You tried, you didn't like it, but hey, at least you tried and at least we got here. And to be honest, you must have liked it a little bit because at the end of the show, you're still listening. Speak soon, everyone. Have a great week.